Hey folks, how's everybody doing? I am going to jump right into things. But Saturday I did a training on lessons in hindsight, and a couple of people were really interested. So what I decided to do was to give more short trainings, little mini trainings, so that people can get more insight based on what I speak about and what my area of focus is. Hey, Rick, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Um, Today, we're talking about simply getting started and launching. Now, I know a lot of us probably online are already entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs, and it doesn't matter whether it's a solopreneur or otherwise, but there's a lot that goes into it. And I had recently posted a video from a talk I did out in New Orleans where I was telling people, stop buying everything. So today's focus is really going to be about some of the things you need as you're getting started or as you're launching. And I'm trying to create, I guess, a methodology for you to go by, a playbook, if you want to, for when you're really starting out, starting over, or simply not certain what pieces of the puzzle you need. Now, as an entrepreneur, I must say, it really does not matter what your industry is. Certain things are they just are what they are. Certain things are needed. There are certain things you're going to need to put into your business. There's a certain mindset you're going to have to acquire. There's certain things that you have to learn if you don't already understand them. Hey, Michelle, what's going on? Listen, so I'm going to start out with number one. So if you have a pen and paper, get a pen and paper, or if you're watching the replay, please feel free to, respond to me, ask me questions. Definitely, I would love for you to share what I'm sharing with you today. Share it on your other pages because I've got a lot, but I'm going to hit it fast and then I'm going to get off. As many of you know, I personally have a lot going on, and I have a lot going on this week. So, this is just meant to kind of like whet your appetite at what you need as it relates to getting started and launching. So that being said, once again, first of all, you got to know what you want. Now, it doesn't matter if your area of focus is you're a carpenter, you're a babysitter, you're an author or a speaker. You have to know, you have to make a choice. You have to choose something that really resonates with you. Whatever that thing is, you have to make a conscious choice of choosing something. And here's the thing. A lot of people want to try this and that. They want to, stick their toe in this pool. They want to stick their toe in that pool. But there could be nothing. Hey, Jermaine, thanks for the thumbs up. There could be nothing more important than trying to make the best decision right off the bat. If you can make the best decision, if you can choose the thing that's most aligned for you as an individual, that's the best choice you can make. So right, number one, you want to identify your sweet spot. And in the book, Radiate the Brain and Change the Game, I talk about the importance of really understanding what your sweet spot is. Now, there's a lot of people that will tell you about getting started and being an entrepreneur, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And those people have tons of experience. But as I shared last week, I like to take a simplistic and practical approach so that it can resonate with you, so that it makes sense to you, and that, you can get more out of it. So again, I advise and I suggest take notes because there's going to be a lot, even though this is a brief training. So again, think about, what are you good at? What do you like? What are you interested in? In fact, write that down. What are you good at? What do you like? And what are you interested in? And the reason why I'm telling you to write that down is because there are probably more questions, but those three questions should get you a lot closer to what you want to spend time doing. And it should get you a lot more excited about the opportunity of starting or launching anything. If you already know what you're good at, what you're interested in, and what you like doing, it doesn't get much better than that. And here's a question I normally ask my audiences before I close out a workshop or a keynote, whatever it may be. What is the thing that you talk about more than anything else? And when you talk about it, you light up inside. Whatever that answer is, I feel that you probably are closer to what you're supposed to be doing as far as your life purpose, your gift. So just like I told you to write down some notes, I'm going to write down some notes too, because I want to recap everything that I'm sharing with you so that at the end of the training, we can recap this together. It can make sense. And I could basically relay to you the things that you should be focusing on. So number one, you want to write down, what are you good at? Okay. What are you interested in? What you're interested in? Good. Interested in, and what do you have experience at, right? I think those are the three things. If not, that's close enough. Okay. All right, so check this out. Number two, I want you to write this down as well. What do you have versus what you need? So what I'm saying is, if you already know what you're good at, if you've made your choice, you know what you're experiencing, you know what you have a serious interest in, okay, that's your starting point. So now you need to find out, how do I monetize, or how do I learn more so that I can monetize that thing? So in order to do that, you need to do number two. You have to understand what you have. So let's say, for example, let's say you're a speaker, or let's say you're a singer. Okay, so if you're a singer and you're wanting to sing, you want to get paid to sing, you're interested in singing, there's a lot of things you can do to get yourself started. So what do you have? For instance, do you have a microphone? Most singers, if not all singers, should have their own microphone. Now, I'm not going to go into equipment in different types, but Shure mics, S-U-R-E, are the best. I believe it may be a Shure 57. I said I wasn't going to speak on it, but I'm doing it anyway. Hey, Greg, you're right there. Is it the Shure mic? Is it Shure number 57? That's a good microphone for singers, because Shure has been around for years, and they have all types of microphones for different purposes. Hey, Greg, do me a favor. Write down in the thing, if you know the brand for singers, what Shure mics are good for vocalists. And if you don't know it, that's fine. But a singer, you want to have a Shure mic or a microphone of your own. Okay, you want to have your own sheet music, or you want to have your own PA system. Now, I know a PA system just starting out may be a lot. So you have to be ultimately sure of what you want to do if you are a singer, or if you want to start a career as a singer, if you want to monetize yourself singing. But it's the same thing with any other career. If you're a speaker or a writer, if you're a writer, let's say you want to write a book, do you have ideas? Do you know what type of books you want to write? Now, I have personally written in several different genres. I've written a book of poetry. I have written a memoir. I have written how-to or self-help books. And I've also most recently written a resource informational book to give people information. That's my new book, After the Diagnosis. That book is lessons that people can learn based on my experience as a cancer survivor, and how do they support their loved ones if their loved ones have been diagnosed with cancer. So the point I'm trying to make to you, you need to know, what do you have in your arsenal? Now, let's say you've made a choice on what you want to do, but you don't have anything. Then you have to do some research, and then you got to use a little bit of common sense. So let's use the example of, okay, any Shure mic is going to get into specifics. They have to go move. Hold on. Any Shure mic is, okay, yeah, you have to really test your equipment out in the facility, and then you want to do research online as far as the microphones, as far as when I was talking about, I don't even know if y'all can hear me. I'm sorry, I only have my earbuds in. Um, yeah, okay, great. Um, if you don't have any equipment, then you need to do the research. So, in other words, again, if you want to be a singer, what do singers need? What do singers use? Now, it's a combination of research and common sense. You know, when you see a singer, they have a microphone. So, you know, you're going to need a microphone. Now, you may start off with a basic microphone, but that's okay. If you are a writer, what do you want to start off with? If you want to have a writing career, you want to start off at least with a computer. If you don't have a laptop, have a desktop. And you're going to need some ideas. You need ideas about what you want to write about. So start with the basics of looking at what you have. And then if it's about what you need, then you have to consider making purchases for the equipment you need. This is important. Doesn't matter what your industry is, whether it's carpentry, electrician, a singer, writer, multi-level marketing, whatever the industry is, you have to look at either best practices or look up online to figure out what do people in this industry use? What does their toolkit consist of? Okay. Hey, Laverne, how you doing? Hey, Laverne, what's going on? Good to see you. Hey, Sharita, thanks for joining in. Now, number 3, write this down. When you start, whatever you do, when you start, you must be committed, not to me, to you. If you're not committed to yourself in whatever endeavor you're doing, you're wasting your money and you're wasting your time. So you must be fully committed. I can tell you, or I can't tell you how many people have called themselves entrepreneurs and have started and stopped over and over and over again. And why did that happen? Step 1, what's the first thing? You got to find your sweet spot. When you find the thing that you want, you're not going to bail on it because you know that you are genuinely and genuinely interested in that thing. You know, you're excited about it. You may have experience in it and you want to do it all the time, or you want to do it a lot. So you must, number 3, you must be committed to you. Come on, let's look at it realistically. People in the world don't necessarily care about you. People in government don't necessarily care about you. You may even have some people, I hate to say it, in your own family that may not care about you. So you, of all people, have to be committed to yourself to follow this thing through, whatever you have selected as your area of focus. All right. Now, if you wrote that down, get ready to write down number 4. See what kind of time I got. Okay, I got a few more minutes. You cannot afford to ignore the small things. Number 4, write this down. Don't ignore the small things. Okay, Charles, so what are you talking about? What are the small things? Well, when you're starting out in any industry, again, any profession, any career rung, you have to realize that sometimes the things that you consider small, they may not be so small, or the things that you consider unimportant because you're writing them off as small, they're not small at all. The small things make the big things possible. This is not me just saying it. This is reality. The small things make the big things possible. So let me be specific, right? All right, so what are the small things? I had to write this down so I wouldn't forget because there are a lot of small things. Think about when you make a cake, right? You got to have flour. You know how many morsels of powder it takes to create a batch of flour and grains or granules of sugar and then butter and then depending what kind of cake you're making or cookies you're making, all these small things make that big thing possible. That's an analogy I just made up right on the spot. See, I'm going to use that too. You watch. Okay, so what are the small things? The small things are things like conference calls, webinars, workshops, audio programs, books. And believe it or not, sometimes the small things, it's a big thing. It's people that have experience that you don't have. Now, the point is, I know a lot of times People do not want to get on the webinar after being at work all day. Do not want to get on a teleseminar. They don't want to be on a conference call. But if it's something that you are already interested in, like say if you're a photographer and they want to talk about on a webinar the intimacies, or no, the nuances, that's a better word, the nuances of how to get a crisp shot or how to get a blurred background, then you're going to be interested to get on that webinar. So whatever your number one was, whatever the first thing you chose, and your number three, you've committed to yourself. Now on number four, you do not want to overlook the small things, because all those things, the webinars, the seminars, the workshops, the conferences, and the people are the things that are going to teach you how to be good. If you're really trying to either monetize it, even if it's just for a pastime, it doesn't have to have anything to do with money. If you're trying to do it for a pastime, you really want to focus on those small things. In my book, Radiate the Brain and Change the Game, I talk about it. Resources or sources. You have to understand that the resources that are available to you are there for a reason. They are there to help you get to the next level in your life or the next level in your business. Somebody's always pinging me, right? Every time I'm on a call. The resources are there so that you can understand how do you capitalize in your area of expertise on what it is that you want to do. How do you get better? You can figure it out. You know, they always talk about guys never want to ask for directions when they're going somewhere because they want to figure it out. Well, you can do that. And you may, you can get a lot out of that, honestly. But why not use resources, the people around you? Why not use resources? You got YouTube University to get the information and the knowledge you need so that you can grow yourself in that area of focus. That is huge. I can't tell you how big that is. But some people, they don't want to do it. They're too tired. They're too this. They're too that. And meanwhile, their growth spurt or their jump start is really more like a little fizzle versus then a spark. So that's really important. Now, if you got questions, please, would you say, Greg? Okay, excuse your first text, no problem. Hey, Horace, thanks for joining in too. What's up, Calvin? Good to see you, man. Greg says, all things are important in being an entrepreneur. That's right. But the number one thing, in my opinion, now, if you guys think differently, just let me know. If you think differently, please share it. The number one thing is knowing what you want to do. And I know it can be uncertain, or the thing that you do may have attachments, or, for example, if you like sports, there's so many things you can do in sports. For example, you can always be the athlete. You can be the coach. You can be the assistant coach. You can be the therapist. You can be the sports journalist. Those are different things that keep you in the same arena. But you have to choose what's your primary thing. The other things in your arena should only come to play. This is my opinion. Those things should only come to play if you can't do the first thing initially, because you want to stick around till you get your shot. That's important. So the same thing with other things, with let's say with the writing, for example. Let's say you have a liberal arts degree or a communications degree. There's so many things you can do with that. You can be a teacher, you can be a writer, you can be a journalist, you can be an editor. There's so many different things you can do with that area of expertise. I'm coming to the close, so I gotta bring it home. Number 5. Okay, what's number 5? Now, can I read my own writing? I'm sure I can. Okay, you're right. You want, as you're doing your research, you're getting your information, you want to apply maybe only 1 or 2 things at a time. In other words, they say that a closed mind says no, or a person that has too much information overload, it shuts you down, because then you don't know, what do I start on first? Which way do I look first? What do I study first? And I get that. A lot of people do get that, but a lot of people, believe it or not, they miss that. So only pick one or two things to give your focus, because those one or two things, you'll learn how to master them in the beginning. Greg says, finding things that works, plan A to B. You want to keep it simple. The easier and the simpler you keep it, the easier it is to acquire or to achieve excellence in that area. And when it's all said and done, if you do that, the way I'm sharing with you, my friends, I'm promising you this. If you do it the way I'm sharing with you, eventually you will become a SME. That's a subject matter expert. But if you try to do 2 and 3 and 4 things all at one time, it's going to make it difficult to master any of them. So take your time and focus on 1 or 2 things. Then you move on to the next 2 things. Now, the video that I put out earlier is simply about this. I was telling people to stop buying everything. Stop trying to get this and get that, because you feel like if you don't buy it, you're not going to get it. The truth of the matter is, you can only really focus on 1 or 2 things at a time, as I just finished saying. So you don't need to buy programs that you're actually not ready for. In other words, when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, regardless of what you've chosen, at some point you'll probably need a website. You're going to need some branding. You're going to need some sales. You're going to need some marketing. You're going to need a lot of things. But you don't need to buy everything up front all at one time. And I know sometimes the presenter may present them well and make it seem simplistic. That is their job. However, you have to be realistic enough with yourself to realize, if I'm in the beginning stages or the intermediate stages, there are going to be certain things I need. I don't need everything. Let me buy what I need to sink my teeth into right now, and then I'll buy the other stuff later. Unless, this is the big one, unless you know that you are a person that keeps your word. And what was that other thing? You must be committed to yourself. If you can keep your word that you're going to buy something so that you have it, and so that when you're ready for it, it's there and you can go back to it, then and only then would I say it's okay to buy more than one thing at a time. But if not, buy one thing at a time and stay true to yourself. Stay committed to the process so that you can get the end or the overall ending results. If you stray from this technique, these steps, honestly, it's going to make it more difficult for you to achieve what you want to achieve. Now, you still may get there, but why get there a few years later if you can get there a few years sooner? That's just me. Now, if you like doing it the slow way, fine, feel free, do it. I can't tell you any different, but I'm trying to tell you and share with you what works and what makes sense. What's a step-by-step process. So let's recap really quick. Number 1, you want to identify what's your sweet spot. What's the thing you're going to focus on? That's important so you know that where you're going. Number 2, you want to look at yourself. You want to do an assessment. What equipment do you have? What equipment do you need? If you don't need anything, that makes it easier. If you do, then you may want to start out getting the how would you say, the least expensive versions of it, so that you can understand how the equipment works. You got to work through a process so that you can get the most leverage out of your investment in yourself and your investment in your equipment. Number 3, you want to be committed to yourself. If you don't commit to yourself, well, you're wasting money and you're wasting time. Number 4, don't ignore the small things. The small things, they always make the big thing possible. It does not matter what your industry is. Okay, Sharon says, what are you going to focus on? Yes, number 1, that's right. Thank you, Sharon. Sharon says, number 2, what equipment are you going to need to run your business? Thank you, Sharon. And number 3, you want to be committed to yourself. Yes, and here's number 4, don't ignore the small things. You cannot afford to ignore the small things, because those lessons from other people, webinars, seminars, books, audio programs. They're going to help you become more proficient in what you're focusing on. And number 5, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Apply 1 or 2 things at a time so that you're not overwhelmed and so that you can eventually get the whole picture under your belt and become that subject matter expert. There's a lot more I could share with you, but this was not meant to be a full training. I just wanted to give you a little bit to go on. And for those of you that are in the DMV or that don't mind traveling to get your education, this Saturday, I'm just telling you, Saturday and Sunday, we're doing a huge event in the DMV at Dave & Buster's, and you want to be there. We're going to have all sorts of experts and expertise on display for you. Just go to the website, cmpotevents.com, get registered, and I can see if I can get you a copy of my new book also, Radiate the Brain and Change the Game After the Diagnosis. But we'll have all the products on display for you. But hopefully you got some good nuances, some good tips. You got some good information here. If you have questions, please put it in the feed. Please share this, and I am out. As I always say, you got to radiate the brain and change the game. I'll see you guys next time, and take care. All right? Have a great day. Oh, thanks, Cheryl. Appreciate that. Cheryl, don't forget, this is the weekend. I'll see you at the conference. You're already registered. All right.